Felicitations, malefactors. Welcome back to Random Pick. This week we are interviewing Daniel Cavi about music and songwriting. Daniel, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, thanks for having me. Well, I know Sam, and I like music and songwriting, but I'm not always great at marketing myself. So this is a golden opportunity.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on the show. Obviously, you're very passionate about music and things of that nature that you just stated. What got you interested in your passion for music? Where did that start?
Well, it started in high school, and it came at the intersection of being in band, which I was just as, as a generality. My parents wanted me to do music, so I did, and also Guitar Hero. So both of those things happened at the same time, and I picked up the guitar. My brother started taking lessons, and I basically hijacked his lesson materials. Not too far after, I started playing bass, and I always, played piano. I never liked it as a kid. You're forced to take piano lessons. You're probably not going to get great, but at least I had an understanding of it. And in school band, I played the trumpet, so I was playing a lot of stuff. And started. That's kind of how I got into songwriting. I would overdub or play with friends, and we'd be like, "Hey, we need songs. Anyone have songs? No, okay, I'll go write some songs." And they weren't great, but they got better. But that's kind of how that started.
Well, that's pretty neat. Do you have a specific genre of music that you prefer, like prefer writing or performing?
I write within the kind of the indie rock framework pretty naturally. It's you know, stuff that's too rocky to be considered soft rock, too soft to be considered actual rock. So we call it indie rock. Um, you can Google my name and find stuff that I've written on SoundCloud and stuff. And I have a little band with my fiance. It's called Apricot Protocol, and I think that's the most recent release that I've had, apart from some other stuff that hasn't been released yet because it's been in the works forever because of the COVID. Um, so yeah,
Sure.
I'd say it fits pretty well into the indie rock box.
Nice. So, I guess in that genre, are there specific bands or artists that have inspired you, or that you're like, I like the sound of this type of music, so I want to write stuff that sounds like this, or do you just kind of do your own thing?
Yeah, one of the things I really like about the genre, and which applies to jazz as well, is that when you listen to a song, basically all of the parts stand out as being something, they have their job within the piece. So, you hear what the bass is doing, you hear what the guitar is doing, you hear what the drums are doing, and it's all contributing to the greater whole. One band that I think does this really well is the Shins, um, where especially
Mm.
on their earlier stuff, I haven't listened to their last couple of releases, but their earlier stuff, the roles of each instrument are very pronounced. Bright Eyes is the same way. A lot of bands in that kind of world are. But the Shins has one song in particular called New Slang that a lot of people, within the indie rock world will know. Um, and Yeah, that song, I kind of divide my music life between having heard that song and not having heard that song. Like it's kind of the turning point to where I was like, okay, this is really cool, and I could do something like this, and other people are doing stuff like this, because I was always kind of off in my own little world, and then you hear somebody else who also has a unique sound, but it sounds, kind of elevated. It's like a, eating something really good from a self-taught cook. It's like, oh wow, I can do that as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I will say I do definitely like it in, like what you said, like in music where the all of the different elements work together. It's not just like noise or like, well, we need drums, so we'll just throw something in there. Like they all contribute and create a harmony within the piece.
Yeah, no, it's totally appropriate sometimes, to have that wall of sound if that's what you're going for. It's just something I've never gone for, seeing as a lot of the times I'm working on my own. And when I was developing and listening to a lot of music, the stuff I would listen to, or I should say, I was ignorant to a lot of the stuff I was listening to, as in I didn't know the recording studio secrets and the magic that goes behind it. For all I knew, there was just a guitar track, a bass track, a drum track, a vocal, sometimes some keyboards. What you don't know is that that sound is actually being made by like 5 guitars overlaid on each other, and there's two drummers.
Oh, sure.
So it's the kind of stuff that I was ignorant to learning music, but I tried to emulate through the way I would play it and the way I would record it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's fascinating. Just the way that the more you learn about something, both I guess like, actually playing it and then listening to it, or vice versa, where you like listen to something like, okay, I'm gonna go try to play that, and you kind of understand the how like difficult or easy some of those like things can be, I'm sure. So has there been any specific like songs that you've strove to be able to play yourself? Like you listen to a song, you're like, I really like that song. I want to learn how to play that.
Yeah, you get that as a player. Like when I listen to, for example, the first Boston album, or the first, or it wouldn't be the first, but Steely Dan's Asia album, both classic records, and it's like I want to play like that. And then as a writer, there's also songs that you're like, oh, I wish I'd written that, or oh, I wish I could write a song like that. How did they come up with that? Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, you totally get that from both worlds. Yeah.
Right. So obviously, I guess with that kind of stuff, there's a lot of like, obviously, music theory is a thing. So I'm sure you've um, looked into that a little bit. I'm sure that has there been any like things you can remember, like whether studying music or playing it, that you had a big like eureka moment, like, oh my gosh, that's how that's done. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those. One big one is when I learned about chord voicings, which is basically different ways to play the same chord. Um, so basically, if a chord's just a group of notes. So the easy way to do it on the piano, say, is to just pick, a clump of notes and move your hand around to play it in different places to make different sounds. When I learned that there's different ways to play those chords that make it sound really lush and really rich, it was like, oh, so that's how they get so much fullness out of such a sparse composition. Like there's only 4 people playing it. It sounds huge. How'd they do that? That's how they're doing that. And then on the recording side, you get once you learn about like vocal doubling and some of the magic that goes into getting the vocal takes on your favorite songs, it's like, wow,
Mhm.
how was I ever doing that the other way?
Oh, sure. It'd be like that those editing tricks, or tricks in the post production that really like bring stuff out.
Yeah, for an example of that, go and check out on YouTube a guy named Rick Beato. He has a recording studio in Georgia. He does a series where he pulls, he grabs a hit song from whatever era and pulls them apart track by track, and you get to kind of see what they're made out of. He did one for "Since You've Been Gone" by Kelly Clarkson, and it like
Hmm.
I clicked on it out of curiosity. I was like, I'm always interested to see how these how the pop songs are put together, and this was probably one of the best videos of that series. That's 100 videos strong, that I've
Oh, wow.
seen. So I would definitely recommend checking that out if you want to kind of get an idea of what I'm getting at.
Sure. So how hard was it to adjust from Guitar Hero to actual guitar?
Well, actual guitars for old people, so I only picked that up when I was 21. No, um, no,
Funny.
um, you know, the same principle applies to where when you go up on the neck, the notes get higher. When you go down, they get lower. So that's the same. But
Mhm.
after that, it's nothing alike. um,
Sure.
but it's like anything, it's a matter of getting used to. With enough practice, you can get it. There's definitely more of a learning curve on the actual guitar. But
Oh,
I
I'm sure.
also, I would also imagine it takes plenty of practice and dedication to play, through the fire and flames on expert 100%. So, um,
Right.
Yeah, bit of more learning curve
I
on the guitar. Guitar Hero is more fun though.
right. Yes, I know they. I don't remember if it was Rock Band or Rocksmith, but I think they had it where you could actually get like a legit like 6-string guitar to hook up to the game, and it would have like the actual notes you would play for those actual songs. And I'm like, that would be
Yeah,
super fun if you were like could actually manage that.
yeah. I have a buddy. I used to work at Radio Shack, and one of my coworkers actually had that, and that's how he learned to play guitar was through that. So he, every now and then, I bring my guitar into work and take it out in the back room during break or something, and he'd come over and pick it up and start playing Metallica or something on it.
That's super cool.
Yeah, he didn't know the theory or anything, but he could play the songs, and if that's all you want to do, that's great. It's an awesome tool.
Yeah, as an artist, you have things that you create that you really enjoy and that you don't enjoy so much. So, do you have a like favorite song or like composition that you've written?
Yeah, on if you look up Apricot Protocol, the band I'm in, on any of your streaming services, the first song from our EP, "Take It From the Top," is probably one of my favorites that I've written. There's also one I really like in there called "Something Like Normal," and they were both written last year. I've got others, but time moves in such a way that you kind of forget what you got. I have a Google Drive folder full of old songs that sometimes I look through and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. I should resurrect that." And I have a lot of older stuff that I thought was good at one point, and it turns out is more like first drafts. Based on my understanding of it
Oh,
now. So,
sure.
but yeah, no, if you look up the EP, it's called "Feel Something." Yeah, those two songs on there, I think, are two of my favorites.
Nice. So, do you have obviously you said you had older songs that you've listened to. Are there any that you would like to remaster at some point because you think you can, bring more out in them?
Yeah, I was actually just I actually just found an iTunes playlist before we got on of old songs that I had written. I wrote them on the computer in a notation software, and I never actually recorded them, but you can play back MIDI, so the computer plays it back at approximately what the sounds would be on actual instruments. And I
Hmm.
found one that I was like, "Oh, that's actually really good. It's kind of cool." So I might try to breathe some life into it. It's Yeah, so hopefully that turns out, yeah.
Well, that is super cool. So, I want to end with one question. It may be hard. I like to end with a little more challenging questions, but can you name your I was gonna say top 5, but that might be too hard. Your top 10 favorite bands and or artists?
Oh, man. I think top 10 is harder than top 5. Let's see.
Okay. Well, if you can do top 5, then that works too.
No, like like I was saying, I really love, the Shins for their songwriting. I like, Joni Mitchell for the same reason. I have a soft spot for The Killers and Nightwish because those are bands I grew up on. Um, I really enjoy the compositions of Steely Dan. That Asia album is a masterpiece, and a lot of people agree. Same with the Dave Brubeck Quartet. They're best known for their song "Take Five." It's an old jazz album. Um,
Hmm.
and then, I could sit down and listen to anything by Miles Davis and John Coltrane for hours. Um,
Sure.
so there's
Okay.
a handful. Yeah.
I guess I always answer these questions too, just to not leave my guest out on a limb. So I guess if I had to pick 5, I have a very nostalgic soft spot for Weird Al.
As do I.
So I'd probably have to put him on the list. I would say Journey is up there for
Mhm.
bands. Also, uh, there's a group that I found on YouTube called Volpec.
Oh yeah, no, I love them. Yeah. Have you did you see their live at Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, no,
Um,
yeah. I love that the cameraman was running around the stage the whole time. See, you got an idea of what the energy is actually like in these, sold out Madison Square Garden shows where everyone's into it. It was awesome.
hmm Yeah, I would say them, and then two other. I'm trying to think of other things that I just listen to like all the time, or like whenever it's on. I'm like, "Ah, I'm gonna listen to that." I really like Styx.
Yeah.
It's one of the few bands I've actually seen live.
Did you see him at the Tornado Relief concert?
I don't actually remember. I just remember their openers were Eddie Money and oh gosh, Loverboy, I think.
Okay, yeah, no, that wasn't the same show. Yeah, this was a Tornado benefit with they had REO Speedwagon with them.
Oh, that would have been awesome. I would have loved to see REO in concert. Um, Weird Al's also the only other one I can think of off the top of my head right now that I've seen live, and that was great.
Yeah, Running with
Um,
Scissors was my jam when I was a tiny child.
yes. And I guess the fifth one would either be Boston, because I really liked Boston, and I also really like Ted Nugent, mostly like the guitar portion of Ted Nugent.
Yeah. Yeah.
The lyrics are something to be desired, but I really like that the instrumental side of that. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's great.
that's something you learn when you're writing songs. A lot of times people aren't listening for the lyrics. Um, so you got to know how to make something sound and feel good too.
That's true. Um, but yeah. So give you a little moment. I know you've kind of gave a little shout outs to some of the things you've done, but if you want to specifically like give your handles, if you have like a Spotify or like you said SoundCloud, you can present those here.
Sure. Yeah. I have a SoundCloud and a Bandcamp page. They're under my name, Daniel Cavi, Cavi. And then the band with my fiance is Apricot, like the fruit, and then Protocol, like the thing you have to do. Um, and yeah, you can find us on any of your streaming services and such. And
Nice.
hopefully there will be another album coming out with that at some point. We had a full length in the works and it got sidetracked by the pandemic, but during that time we made an EP. So I'm kind of getting back into the full length thing now.
Well, that is fantastic. Once again, I would like to thank you for coming on the show. If it's so if we happen to have the opportunity, we'd love to have you on again to talk about other various things or perhaps new stuff that you've developed since last we talked.
Oh, there's always a lot of stuff.
All right. Well, once again, Daniel, thank you for coming on the show. For those of you listening in, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Random Pick. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give a like and or subscribe if you're so inclined, and check out the description. I'll put some links in there to Daniel's stuff. So once again, thank you for listening in, and we'll catch you next time on Random Pick.